What's going on, friends and family? My name is Skylight, and today I'm going to talk with you about the top 10 upcoming open world games for 2017. So some of these might come a little bit earlier, some a little bit later, maybe even some will be delayed, I don't know. And I think it's a little bit debatable, like how open world some of these games are going to be. I know some people, when they play open world games, they're looking for a particular niche type of gameplay, and some of these games aren't going to provide that. I don't know. They're upcoming games. There's a whole lot of question marks, but either way, if they're fully open world, pseudo open world, I think regardless, they're going to at least be good games. So keep the hype alive. Let's jump into the list. Okay, so the first game I want to talk about is going to be a game called Prey for the Gods. Now, this is one of those games that I think is kind of debatable if it really counts as an open world game, because it's very much in the image of Shadow of the Colossus. But the problem with that concept is, yes, it's a huge open world. There's just a tremendous amount of breadth to the game. In terms of scenery, you know, it is technically open, but there's actually not too much to do mechanically in that open space. So if Prey for the Gods follows that, or maybe it might not even, it might actually be significantly more linear, then I don't know. What I don't know what to say then. I guess it doesn't belong on the list, but I really want to put it on the list because, one, I am incredibly excited for this game. Two, I think there's a huge amount of potential for open world-ish gameplay, especially since you're fighting giant monsters. And absolutely any chance that I'm going to have to show off this game because it is in the image of Shadow of the Colossus, or it's in the shadow, I'm going to do it. So yeah, number 10, Prey for the Gods. Coming up next, at number 9, we have Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Wildlands. Now, I don't know how true to the franchise, to the IP that it's going to be. All I know is that for the series, I think that this is actually going to be a more unique departure. I'm sure it's still going to be more down-to-earth, more serious, probably maybe even significantly more serious, because it has a very strong focus on the story as well and morality decisions here. But I think that it's just going to be overall departure from mechanically. You know, we have the open world, big expansive, and it's all sort of like this continuous story, this continuous mechanical play, kind of like Far Cry. You know, you're down on an island, or here it's the Wildlands, and you just kind of do things, okay? It's not going to be stupid and super explosive probably as Far Cry, Grand Theft Auto, or Metal Gear, but I think it's going to be really down to earth, and it's really going to allow people to kind of explore, you know? Lots of different little gadgets to play with, lots of different guns to play with. Of course, it's not going to get ridiculous, but at the same time, for its niche that it's focusing on, I think it is still trying to be something different. Coming in at number 8, we have a game called Days Gone. Yeah, actually, following a trend here, we're going to have a lot on this list even. A lot of open world PS4 games coming out. But yeah, Days Gone, it's going to be a zombie open world action adventure survival horror video game. So we got a lot of genres thrown in there, but I think that's because it is open world, but you're also kind of following the perspective of a singular character, which I think I want to really play that. And it's zombies, and apparently this guy was a bounty hunter, and we see from the gameplay maybe there's going to be some conflict with some other humans. So in the end, what I'm really hoping for this game from this small studio here, though it's being published by Sony Interactive, but then again, No Man's Sky. Anyways, I think that what I really want from this game is something like a serious Grand Theft Auto-ish kind of game that has zombies. You know, I think that'd be pretty cool. So let's talk about Northern Shadow, shall we? Okay, Northern Shadow looks to be a medieval-ish kind of game where you are managing your own kingdom, but it looks like you're going to actually be in first person. You're going to be right there in the thick of it, and you're going to be kind of like, you have these RPG mechanics, be talking to all these different people, and yet you are still the manager, okay? So you're not like this top-down god kind of person, you know, placing buildings and just, you know, commanding everything and being completely omniscient. No, you're right in it, and you're kind of playing the role like an RPG, but the role of ruler, and I really appreciate that. So let's get into the nitty-gritty for this game and see how far we can go. I think this is a genre that we're actually, you know, even on this list, we're seeing a couple more games coming out here, and I think Northern Shadow is going to be one of the good ones. Now, next up on the list, we have a game called Gravity Rush 2. Now, I actually missed out on the first Gravity Rush because it looked kind of niche to me. It looked like a JRPG with a little bit of action. I didn't know that it was actually kind of legit, and now that number 2 is coming out and I have a PS4, I'm going to be buying that. I'm going to be jumping on that. I'm literally going to be jumping all around. Look at the gameplay in the background. JRPGs are kind of known for their very out-there concept stories and mechanics, and this game looks like it's going to have all of that ridiculousness, so I'm absolutely hyped for that. An open-world game, even if, you know, it's not quite as expansive as others, not too many are going to allow you to just kind of, you know, do the things. Yeah, not too many others are going to allow you to kind of explore the world with such a unique perspective as you could potentially get in Gravity Rush 2. Now, halfway on the list, we've got a game that I think a lot of you saw coming, and that's going to be Mount & Blade 2: Bannerlord. But other games are a little bit too similar to Bannerlord, and I think that this is just the best. I think it's just going to be better. In my opinion, Mount & Blade 2 Bannerlord is hype. That's really all I can say about it. Now, it's going to be a low fantasy medieval game that's going to be focusing on sieging. You're actually going to be building, defenses. You're going to actually be in the combat as well. You're going to have that visceral gameplay, also the tactics and strategy, all of it combined, medieval warfare. But there's also a little bit of diplomacy. You get the whole feudal system. You're going to have different kingdoms, and the game is separated between multiplayer and single player. So you're going to have that simulated sandbox economy in the single player. And if you want to bring all of that epicosity into multiplayer, absolutely, you're going to be able to do so. Other games not reviewing so high in their early access states, I think Mount & Blade 2 is our best hope. Now moving into the Big Bad 4, we have Horizon Zero Dawn. Now, I think some people would probably put this lower on the list because, it's not really gauging too high on the hype meter. But for me personally, I think that this game is going to be sort of like a sleeper hit. And it is an entirely new IP, but it is so radically different. They are mechanical freaking dinosaurs. They're like freaking Decepticons, running around. And then it's like you're a Neanderthal-looking character just running around with like spears that have like mechanical bits, molded onto it. So it seems like they could have a lot of fun with the crafting, with the combat, obviously the creatures, the world building, and it seems like there is going to be a focus on the story, which could be bad, okay, could be good, we'll see. And I think with this leap, we're going to see something extremely exciting. At number 3, I'm going to put Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. I will be picking this up for my Switch. Now, the game looks pretty freaking gorgeous, okay? I'm really loving a lot of the concepts, the different elements and how, propagating fire and the physics of the game, all that good stuff. I guess you could say we kind of seen that in other open worldish games that are older. But then again, of course, yeah, you got the character of, Link, and you got all these different characters inside the Legend of Zelda universe. There's story and things, and I don't think that's really important. What I think is really important is the fact that they're kind of going back to their design principles. They're taking away a lot of linearity that we saw in some, more recent Legend of Zelda titles, and we're kind of going back to like the original, the second, Link to the Past, those kind of games, the top-down games that really rewarded and basically, emphasized and almost completely focused on the exploration factor of the games, where a lot of the mechanics were just about traversing the world. And I think that they kind of, dropped that a little bit in some more recent games. Not only are they bringing it back for this most recent Zelda, and of course all the characters and all the love and charm that we love of the series as a whole, but they're making it even more wild and giving it more breadth. Now, number 2, and it's debatable, absolutely. This is an upcoming list, and it's just my opinion, but number 2 is going to be Cyberpunk 2077. We haven't seen really anything about the game, and I'm just really putting it so high on this list because of the acclaim of The Witcher 3. Specifically The Witcher 3, made by CD Projekt Red. This game, Cyberpunk 2077, has so much steam and hype going for it just because of Witcher 3. And honestly, that's why it's on the list. Witcher 3 was just such a good game, an open world game as well, that it is still raining down awards on itself. Then again, it was actually very traditional in many ways. It was completely superb in all of those traditional ways, but traditional nonetheless, with a lot of the lore, the way that the game was played, and the story. Cyberpunk is kind of, jumping out a little bit. I think this game is going to ask the developers to take a huge chance, and it looks like they are, and I think it's going to ask players to also take a big chance and a leap with it. And you know what? I'm game for that, because they have my full trust, thanks so much to their amazing track record. Now, the number 1 slot, in my opinion, it has to go to Red Dead Redemption 2. We all know what Red Dead Redemption is capable of. The first game has completely acclaimed, has won so many awards, and is overall a great story game. It's got a huge expansive world, and an open world list, we've got to add that. And the track record of the company, let's talk about that, right? Because, of course, in an upcoming list, there's a little bit of expectation and trust that you have to have, which is why Cyberpunk 2077 is number 2. Well, Rockstar Games is pretty good at making open world games. The story, side quests, the world itself, the detail, we could probably go on and on, or you could just look up all the awards that all of their games have won. So I think if there's a company to make an amazing open world game, a tremendous amount of potential, single player, online, mini games abound probably too, and yet at its core, a completely solid experience all around. Yeah, man, Rockstar Games, Red Dead Redemption 2, that's just gotta be it. It's gotta be number 1. So that's the list, friends. Thanks so much for watching. We've been growing a lot, and I really want to show off a lot of new upcoming games, and these are the ones that I'm personally excited for. If there was one that I missed, or maybe the one that you really want to shout out, absolutely do it in the comments below, or just, argue with me about, what I put on my list. That's cool, too. Anyways, guys, I have a lot of fun doing these lists. Hopefully, you do, too. My name is Skylint. Keep having fun, and I will see you in the next one.